All right, today we're going on a journey, but we're not heading to some far-off land. Nope. We are shrinking down to explore the absolutely incredible hidden world inside a single tooth. Let's dive in.
You know, when you look at a tooth, it seems pretty simple, right? Just a solid piece of enamel. But if you could actually shrink down and go inside, you'd find this amazingly complex network of chambers and canals. It is so much more than what you see on the surface. And that's exactly what we're going to do today. Think of it as a micro-expedition. We're going to look at the very first and maybe most critical step of a root canal. And we're not going to see it as something scary, but as this super precise exploration, a mission to create the absolute perfect entryway into this hidden world.
So, our expedition kicks off with charting the doorway. See, before any of the real deep cleaning work can even start, a dentist has to create this perfectly planned access point. It's kind of like an explorer who's meticulously mapping the entrance to a brand new cave system.
And what's the whole point of this entryway? Well, it all boils down to one thing: getting straight line access. The path from that opening on the tooth surface all the way down to the very bottom of the root, it needs to be as direct and clear as possible. This makes sure that the tools used later can just slide right in and do their job perfectly. Now, you might be thinking the dentist just drills a simple little circle, but that's not it at all. The shape of this opening is anything but random. It's actually a map. The outline that you see on the surface is directly dictated by the shape of the pulp chamber that's hidden deep inside the tooth. And to make sure this whole expedition is a success, dentists have to follow a really strict set of rules. You could almost think of them as the explorer's 4 commandments for navigating this tiny internal world. Okay, so these rules all work together. The opening has to be just right to clear out everything in that main chamber and give the dentist a totally direct line of sight to the floor. Then, it's got to be shaped to guide the instruments in super easily and, of course, create that all-important straight line access deep into the root. Every single step just ensures a perfectly clear path for the rest of the work. But you know, just like any trip into uncharted territory, the inside of a tooth can throw some major surprises at you. That initial map doesn't always show every single little twist and turn in the landscape.
And here's the kicker. No two teeth are exactly the same on the inside. Root canal systems are actually famous for having these incredibly complex and varied layouts. So what that means is a dentist has to be ready to navigate a completely unique internal network every single time.
Let's just look at 2 of the most common surprises. First, you've got branching canals, where one main pathway might suddenly split off into a bunch of smaller little tunnels. And then you can find the complete opposite: joining canals, where 2 totally separate tunnels actually merge together and become one before they reach the end of the root. Okay, so let's talk about our destination. The whole point of this journey, right, is to get to the very end of the root, which is known as the apex. But, as you've probably guessed by now, finding that exact endpoint is way more complicated than it sounds.
So first, we've got what's called the anatomic apex. This is the physical, pointy tip of the root that you can actually see. It's the part that shows up clearly on an X-ray, and it seems like the obvious place to stop, right? The end of the line.
Well, this is where it gets tricky. The real exit, the actual opening where the canal system leaves the tooth, that's called the apical foramen. And here's the surprising part. This opening almost never lines up perfectly with that physical tip. It's usually a little bit off to the side.
So if the pointy physical tip isn't the goal, and the little exit hole isn't quite the goal either, then what is? Where is the true destination for this whole expedition? Let's find that perfect stop.
The real target, the bullseye, is this tiny, almost impossible to see landmark called the apical constriction. This is the absolute narrowest point of the entire canal, and it's located just before that exit. This tiny little bottleneck is basically nature's stop sign, telling the dentist, right here, this is the precise spot where you stop cleaning and start filling.
So just how far is this crucial stopping point from the actual exit? Get this. On average, it's just 0.5 millimeter. That's it. That is the entire margin for error. The level of precision that you need to hit that spot is it's incredible.
Just think about that for a second. This whole journey, navigating all this complex anatomy, is all aimed at a target that is smaller than a single grain of sand. Hitting that mark, with that kind of mind-boggling precision, it just shows you the incredible level of skill that's involved. So let's do a quick recap of our little expedition. We learned that the entry point on top is basically a map of the hidden anatomy inside. We saw that the path down can have all sorts of unexpected branches and merges. And most importantly, we discovered that the goal isn't that visible tip of the root, but a teeny tiny natural constriction located just before the exit.
And that kind of leaves us with one final thought. If a structure that seems as simple as one tooth can hold this much hidden complexity, if it contains such a detailed, unseen map, what other amazing, intricate maps exist inside the rest of our bodies, just waiting to be explored?